Welcome back to Exchange Server Architecture, and in this lesson we will learn the server roles in Exchange Server and the overview of mailbox storage, message transport service, client access service and Exchange Server preferred architecture. So let's get started with server role in Exchange Server. Mailbox server role. As compared to the earlier version, the server role architecture in Exchange Server 2019 is the same as in Exchange Server 2016, but it is more simplified in 2019. In Exchange Server 2010, there were 5 server roles, and in Exchange Server 2013, there were 3 server roles. However, Exchange Server 2016 and Exchange Server 2019 have only the mailbox server role and the edge server role. The mailbox server role provides the core functionality of the Exchange server, such as client access service. This refers to the functionality in the Exchange server that enables various clients, such as Outlook, web browser, and mobile devices to connect to the Exchange server. Message transport. This refers to the functionality in Exchange server that moves a message between mailboxes and over the internet. Database management. This refers to the management of mailboxes and public folders that are stored in mailbox databases, and you can manage the placement and configuration of these databases in Exchange server. Edge transport server role controls internet message delivery. The edge transport server role is used to secure mail flow between an Exchange server organization and the internet, and is placed in a perimeter network. A server running the edge transport server role is placed in a perimeter network, and all the messages to and from the internet are routed through the edge transport server role. Implementing the edge transport server role increases the security by providing a point of blocking spam and malwares. So these are the only roles included in Exchange Server 2016 and 19. So let's have a look on overview of mailbox storage. Mailbox database store mailboxes public folder data and indexes. The mailbox server role hosts and manages mailbox databases. Mailbox databases store users' data located in mailboxes and public folders. Mailbox databases also store data indexes that are used for searching the mailboxes and public folder content in Exchange Server. And Exchange Server 2019 Standard Edition can host up to 5 databases, and the Enterprise Edition can host up to 100 databases. Database Availability Group called DAG. Mailbox databases can also be configured for high availability, and in doing so the content of one database is replicated to multiple databases. In fact, the content of a mailbox database can be replicated to a group of up to 16 databases located on the different Exchange servers, and this grouping of Exchange server is known as Database Availability Group, that is called DAG. And DAG plays a critical role in automating the recovery of Exchange environment following a database, server or network failure. Access through client access services. The content in the mailbox databases can be accessed in different ways and by different services. For example, let's examine a common scenario in which a user wants to read email by connecting with an HTTPS client such as Outlook on the web. In this scenario, a HTTPS connection is established from a web browser to the IIS on the client access services that authenticate the user and proxy the request to the backend IIS service. In turn, the IIS backend service connects to the mailbox database, and it retrieves and renders the data and returns the data to the user. If an email is sent to the user, the mailbox transport delivery service connects to the database with the RPC protocol and delivers the email, and client don't directly connect to the backend service and to the database. So this was the overview of mailbox storage. Let us also check with the overview of message transport service. Basically, the message transport service performs mail routing both within an organization and between an organization and internet. And transport service has three components: front-end transport service on mailbox server. This service acts as a stateless proxy for all inbound and outbound external SMTP traffic for the Exchange Server organization. So this is a first point of contact when email arrives to an Exchange server. Transport service on mailbox server. This service on a mailbox server handles all SMTP mail flow for the organization and performs the message categorization and content inspection. Mailbox transport service. This service consists of two separate services: mailbox transport submission service and mailbox transport delivery service. Mailbox transport submission service connects to the local mailbox database using RPC to retrieve the message and submit the messages to the delivery queue database over the SMTP to the transport service on the local mailbox server or on the other mailbox server. Whereas mailbox transport delivery service receives SMTP messages from the transport service on the local mailbox server or on the other mailbox server and connect to the local mailbox database using RPC to deliver the messages. Overview of client access service. So all the messaging clients are connected to the client access services first to authenticate, and HTTPS is the main protocol used by these clients. For example, Outlook uses the MAPI over HTTP or Outlook Anywhere to connect to the Exchange server. And if you are using mobile devices to connect with the Exchange server, it uses the ActiveSync protocol. But most of the client access services are web-based services that are provided over HTTPS. That's why the HTTPS is the main protocol used by these clients. And not only these protocols are supported in an Exchange server, but Exchange server does also support the POP3, IMAP and SMTP clients protocol. If some of the clients are using POP, IMAP and SMTP protocol, still they can connect with the Exchange server. And the client access services performs following actions like authenticate the users. Client access services authenticate the users if they have the correct password or certificates are installed properly or not. And also they proxy the user connections to the backend services on the mailbox server that hosts the active database copy containing the mailbox of that particular users. Exchange Server Preferred Architecture. Microsoft recommends Exchange Server Preferred Architecture as a best practice for deploying Exchange Server. However, some organizations will not be able to deploy the preferred architecture. Those organizations will have to deploy Exchange Server in a different supported architectures, and organizations should adhere as closely as possible to preferred architecture or consider migrating to Office 365 in future if they do not want to deploy or manage multiple servers in their on-premises. So Exchange Server Preferred Architecture focuses on following key areas. Namespace design. The recommended namespace design is called unbounded model. In this design, a single namespace is deployed per client protocol for both data centers where you would want to achieve site resiliency. For example, TechieCheck client want to connect to AutoDiscover services by using the name autodiscover.techiecheck.com, and they will connect to the HTTPS services by using the name mail.techiecheck.com. So you should equally distribute the traffic across the data center through round-robin domain name system or GeoDNS or similar solution, whatever you have there with you. Another one is site resilient data center pair design. To provide the site resiliency, Microsoft recommends a DAG member to be evenly distributed between two or more data centers. And another recommendation is to connect the data center through redundant network paths supplied by different operating carriers, and each data center should be in its own Active Directory sites. And the next one is server design. All the servers should be physical servers and use locally attached storage, though the virtual servers are also supported, but physical servers are preferred because virtualization introduces an additional layer of management and complexity And if you are using a physical server, that means you should have at least like dual socket servers and up to 256 GB of memory. You can extend your memory up to 256 GB. Server should be a battery backed up with the right cache controller. And if in case your organization need more server performance and capacity, the Microsoft recommends scaling out rather than scaling up. That means it is better to deploy a large number of servers with slightly less resources per server than a small number of higher performance servers. So with this architecture, any planned or unplanned outage will have less impact on users and will reduce the risk of system bottlenecks as well. The fourth one is storage. Exchange server should have a single redundant array of independent disk mode 1. You can configure RAID 1 disk pair for the operating system, Exchange binaries and the transport databases. And the remaining storage that houses Exchange data should be formatted with the REFS and should be configured in two storage classes. You can use the JBoard storage class and you can put your Exchange server database files and Exchange server transaction log on these JBoard disks. And also you can put your MCDB files on a solid state drives. It is recommended to keep 5 to 10% of additional storage as a solid state storage. For example, if a single server is configured with 20 terabytes of mailbox database file on traditional storage, then an additional 1 TB or 2 TB of solid state storage is recommended to be deployed as additional storage for the same server. And one thing to note here is the MCDB is a new feature in Exchange Server 2019, and the preferred architecture for Exchange Server 2016 does not include this solid state drive for enhanced performance. Microsoft also recommend to encrypt the disk with BitLocker to protect data from unauthorized physical access. And the fifth one is database availability group design. Organization might deploy one or more DAGs which can stretch across two data centers, and this scenario allowed distribution of the load across as many servers as possible during the failure scenarios. If your organization has 3 data centers, it is recommended to deploy the DAG witness server in that third data center. If an organization does not have that third location, the witness server can be placed in Azure. And to achieve the data resiliency, deploy multiple database copies that are distributed across the site resilient data center pair. With this strategy, mailbox data is protected from software, hardware and even data center failures. This is an example of Exchange Server preferred architecture. Here we have two sites, West and East, and we are using a single namespace, that is techiejack.online. For OA, the URL will be mail.techiejack.online, but the user in a West can use a URL like west.mail.techiejack.online to connect with the OA. And similarly, the East one will be like east.mail.techiejack.online. So this way the load will be divided with two different sites. And in each site we have a DAG members, like in West we have a 3 DAG members and East we have 3 DAG members, and we are using geolocation DNS to manage the loads. So this is an example of Exchange Server preferred architecture, and let's move further to another video to know what are the requirements of Exchange Server before installation.